Good morning, and welcome to CBS News. The day is June 26th, 1940, and I'm your host, Bruce "The News" Lewis. First, in world affairs, the war in Europe has taken a southward turn for the Allies. As of midnight last night, France has surrendered to Germany following the fateful events of the Battle of France. The treaty was signed 4 days ago on the 22nd, but has just this morning been enacted. In total humiliation of the French, the treaty was signed at Compiègne in the exact same train car that was used to sign the German surrender in the First World War. We'll send it over to our reporter, Harley Renaissance, in Compiègne now. Harley, what's the scoop?
Thanks, Bruce. I'm here in Compiègne, near the scene of the fighting. Compiègne is the northern part of France and northwest of Paris. I am standing on the border of the forest that encompasses most of the area. Somewhere in this forest is the very train car that was found in armistice of World War I, and now is known where France surrendered to Germany. And now I am joined by German soldiers reveling in victory.
Hello, world. Welcome to Blitzkrieg. We are victorious in German fashion, eh?
Yes, and what do you attribute German success to?
The glorious leadership of Adolf Hitler and the command of General Erich von Manstein. We struck through the Lorraines where the foolish allies were not expecting our attack, and we conquered France in 6 weeks. Where is your army now, Winston Churchill? Your glorious French army has nothing to protect in Britain.
Thank you, sir, for your input. As a result of the treaty, more than 2/3 of France, including Paris, will be under German control. Now, the rest of France will be under the Vichy government. The political unit will work in unison with Axis powers. Now, France will be expected to pay German invasion debts, and Germany promises to withhold all fighting with British stops. Now, back over to you, Bruce.
Thank you, Harley. These events, as shared by the German soldier, conspired over a 6-week period. The Germans are practicing a type of war called Blitzkrieg, German for lightning war. The French began by establishing the Maginot Line on the German border, as shown here. The line is a series of fortifications with the sole purpose of withholding the Germans from entering France. The Germans, within 4 days, captured both Luxembourg and the Netherlands, allowing for an easier offensive into France. It only took 6 more days for the German advance to corner the French and British armies in the city of Dunkirk, shown here. We'll send it over to our history buff, Dr. Grady Pression. This all begins, like you said, with a German push through Belgium and into France, as shown here. Germany conquered Luxembourg and Holland in the span of 4 days, which allowed for them to go through Belgium and into France. As soon as they entered through France, they cut off the northern and southern halves of France and made it so that they were unable to communicate with each other. This was significant because the southern half of France was defending the Maginot Line where they expected a German advance. But Germany attacked through the Lorraines in northern Belgium and France, which cut off about 500,000 soldiers in northern France. Over the course of a few days, because of the German panzer tanks and their speed, France's forces and some of the British expeditionary forces were forced into the port town of Dunkirk, as shown here. Dunkirk was very shallow waters and would have been very hard to evacuate people from. And at the beginning of this, Winston Churchill, the Prime Minister of England, had not wanted to evacuate his soldiers because he thought that the mission would be pointless. But they realized that it was better to try than to just let them all die. And so they ordered the Royal Expeditionary Fleet to come down to Dunkirk and try to evacuate as many men as possible. Well, in the first act in a series of miracles, Hitler actually orders the stop of his panzer tanks, fearing a counterattack from the Allies, while simultaneously being reassured that the air forces that he had, the Luftwaffe, would stop any British evacuation attempts. Well, this gave the Allies just enough time to prepare the evacuation at Dunkirk. Well, in the first day, they only evacuated 7,500 men, but on the second day, they evacuated 10,000 men. This ended up, by the end of it, they evacuated 338,000 men, 140,000 French and 198,000 British. And this became known as the miracle at Dunkirk, because they really didn't expect to evacuate any more than 45,000 soldiers, and they evacuated significantly greater amounts than that. Thanks, Bruce. Back to you. Thank you, Dr. Pression. Next, we've received footage of an angry Frenchwoman in distress about the fall of her country.
It just blows my mind how our glorious French army were defeated in the time span of 6 weeks.
As you can see, the people of France are quite flustered by their sudden defeat. And now, we go to a live broadcast in the House of Commons, where Winston Churchill is delivering his speech titled, "We shall fight them on the beaches." We shall go on to the end. We shall fight in France. We shall fight on the seas and oceans. We shall fight with growing confidence and growing strength in the air. We shall defend our island, whatever the cost may be. We shall fight on the beaches. We shall fight on the landing grounds. We shall fight in the fields and in the streets. We shall fight in the hills. We shall never surrender. And even if, which I do not for a moment believe, this island, or a large part of it, were subjugated and starving, then our empire beyond the seas, armed and guarded by the British fleet, would carry on the struggle until, in God's good time, the New World, with all its power and might, steps forth to the rescue and the liberation of the Old. A stirring speech by one of the most foremost military minds in the world right now. We'll be right back after the break. I say, what word should I use other than flustered?
Distressed.
Thank you, Dr. Preston. Next, we've received footage. Footage? This is 1940s Baywatch right here. As you can see, like me.